What's going on, guys? This is a Rantcast short. I want to talk about the upcoming Zac Efron movie based, question mark, on the Von Erichs, the story of the Von Erichs. And I have to tell you, let me just do this, man. Let me just go ahead and start this with the surviving brother, Kevin Von Erich's comments and concerns. Also, let me say that I was fortunate enough to have been in the sportatorium brought in by Jerry Jarrett, and right the next day, they had a split off from a partnership that they had with Kevin and Carrie. And one way, shape, or form, Kevin is the one that liked me and kept me around. After that had gone, it was funny because I showed up the next morning. I was like, what's going on? And they're like, we thought you went back to Memphis. So I had to do some quick footwork there because this was my golden opportunity to learn how to be a compelling, money-drawing baby face. What better place to learn those lessons, than in the territory that was dying, that was once one of the most record-setting live event-attended wrestling companies' history. So as you probably know, there's a show on Hulu, there's a series, mini-series, whatever the F, biographical series about the Sex Pistols. I loved the Sex Pistols. You're listening to a 58-year-old man that in 1982 or 3 went and saw the Dead Milkmen and the Butthole Surfers, at the Cabaret Metro. Yes, I was there in the thick of things when punk was having its run in the United States. It was friggin' cool, dude. I really loved it, and not many people will be able to say that. The point I'm trying to make is John Lydon wasn't even contacted. John Lydon, who is such a formidable member and also so responsible in forming the Sex Pistols, The Sex Pistols, when you think about them, off the top of your head, if you can answer the question, who were the members in 5 seconds or less, other than Johnny Rotten and Sid Vicious, you win. You see what I'm saying? They didn't contact John Lydon when they created that program. And John is saying that it kind of went against everything that the Sex Pistols stood for right out the gate. And here's words directly from my friend, Kevin Von Erich. Well, there's this movie coming out, and I have no idea what they're going to say. I decided to do live interviews because I really don't know what they're going to say. And I want to kind of get a rebuttal out there. There's some crazy stuff on the internet, and I was afraid they'd use some of that stuff for this movie and make my dad look terrible and make Carrie look terrible. I just couldn't have that. I've been so disappointed in a lot of old-timers and veterans that have just really run roughshod on Fritz and Carrie once they die just to grab some dying attention, in these quote-unquote shoot videos. You know what I mean? I knew Fritz, I knew Carrie, and these things that they make jokes about, nothing could be further from the truth. I was with Carrie in Memphis. I effed with Carrie when I was at WWF doing extra work, and I effed with Carrie when I was down in Dallas, like I said before, and he was at WWE. Now, here's what Kevin does say, so you can kind of see where his thinking is pretty damn balanced. He's a sensible individual. I don't know a thing about it. My sons went down there and they did some stunt work for the wrestling part of it, but I have no idea what they're going to say. It turns out Sean Durkin, this is the guy that created or wrote it, called me, and I got a feeling it's going to be a really good movie. When the boys went down there to shoot this scene, which was in Louisiana, they had built their own sportatorium. You've got to love that, and I hope they don't wreck that building after the movie's over. They built their own. It's an exact replica of the sportatorium. They've really gone all in on this, and when my boys went down there, Carrie Von Erich's daughter was also down there, and she's a friend of Sean Durkin too. Holly was there, and they were meeting the actors, and the guy that is going to play my dad came out. When Holly saw him, when Holly, listen to this, she immediately cried. She loved my dad, which would have been her grandpa, so much. All of the kids loved my dad. Couldn't have been such an asshole, could he, guys? When the actor saw that Holly had cried, he started crying. Well, bless him. I mean, right there, entertainment, man. You got to be emotionally invested in your character. That shit isn't going to go any fucking where, so that's good to see. That's a ray of hope. It just said to me that these people were really pouring their hearts into this. They really want to do a good work. If you try that hard, I really think you're going to do all right, and I can't wait to see it. And then it kind of changed his mind again from experience. Don't tell me, show me. I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be a good movie. See what I'm saying? And that's the thing is, I don't get it, why they have to try to make Fritz look like he had any goddamn thing to do with what happened. You know, you had David Von Erich, Kevin Von Erich, Kerry Von Erich, Mike Von Erich, and Chris Von Erich. And God bless little Chris. He was supposed to have his first match the first night that I was in down in Dallas at the Sportatorium. And that didn't happen because he was affected by the affliction of addiction. Alcoholism, drug addiction, addictive behaviors are a disease and nothing to be fucking laughed at. I've been in recovery for 42 years. I came into a program and I came into Chicago Lakeshore Hospital, the adult ward at 16, at 6 foot tall, 128 pounds, with bleeding, ulcers, and pancreatitis. Okay? And I've been fortunate enough to stay sober for the last 42 years. And that's what happens. But they tell us an addict, alcoholic, has 4 ways to go. Jail. If we're lucky, we die before that happens. Or a psych ward or a mental institution. I have seen wet brains, and they're basically just not even walking dead because they can't walk anymore because their brain has been so affected. You understand? The 4th one is recovery. And unfortunately, the Von Erich boys, Michael, Chris, and Kerry, committed suicide. And also, folks, please note that depression goes hand in hand with alcoholism. And what is depression? Anger and intense feelings turned inward that make us want to become a harm to ourselves or others if it goes untreated. So many more people during the era of the young men I just mentioned that died because we didn't know how to treat depression, you know? Anyway, let's get to the Iron Claw. And again, there is no laughing about what happened with the Von Erichs, and you can't blame Fritz. You know, it wasn't the way he raised them. These guys were susceptible to the disease, and they had rock star status, which can be probably horribly hard to deal with, not to mention the fact that not the oldest brother, I think Kevin is actually the oldest, but I always thought David was the oldest. But when David died of natural causes in Japan, imagine that. That really effed the boys up. They were very, very close. The film is centered around the Von Erich family, a dynasty of wrestlers from the 60s onwards that had enormous success and popularized the Iron Claw's professional wrestling hold. However, they not only had to battle inside the ring, but fight the Von Erich curse outside of it. You know, I used to always get mad about the curse. I hate to think that anybody or anything is cursed. If you're cursed, how can you have fucking hope? Does Kevin feel cursed? How has Kevin Von Erich survived all of this? And if you follow that man on social media, especially Twitter, he does not live a life of a cursed man. You know, he's very positive. He's an outstanding messenger as well. He's a good example and a peaceful example. I was grieving the death of someone, and we were PMing each other about something else. And Kevin hit me up with just some amazing ways that he's dealt with his grief, you know. and how that he believes that at the end of the day, after all the loss this man has suffered, I mean, let's face it, all of his family, his parents and all of his brothers, he says it doesn't hurt anymore because I realize that it's just a drop, of time here on earth compared to what's coming after, okay? So here's your lineup. Zac Efron, and you can see Zac Efron in the screen split there, is playing Kevin. Oh my God, he looks like his twin. And, to Kevin's point, look at Efron. How hard did that son of a bitch have to train to look like that? You idiots should take note, because if Zac Efron can do it, how can you not look like that and not get noticed? And if you can't work as hard as Zac Efron, don't call yourself a wrestler. Zac Efron will play Kevin. Lily James will play Pam Atkinson. Harris Dickinson will play David. Maura Tierney will play Doris Von Erich. Holt McCallany as Fritz Von Erich. Jeremy Allen White as Carrie. Stanley Simmons as Mike. MJF will play Lance Von Erich. That's awesome. I don't like MJF, and I love the fact that he's going to play the phony Von Erich that got over like a fart in church. It's so fitting, Brady Pierce will play Michael Hayes. Let's see what happens there. Aaron Dean Eisenberg as Ric Flair. Kevin Anton as Harley Race. Pretty cool. Kazi Louis Carigno as Bruiser Brody. Chavo Guerrero Jr., that's pretty cool, as the Sheik. And Ryan Nemeth will play Gino Hernandez. Well, it sounds like they've got a lot of pivotal moments and pivotal characters as performers covered. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and go with Kevin on this and hope that with all that hard work into it, that they're not making a dog fart, folks. I hope that it's something that, can not only just exploit the quote-unquote curse, but maybe be a little piece of history of the truth of what happened, and how big things actually were and successful they were, at the Sportatorium. Don't forget, folks, this is something that I learned down there however many years ago, I guess 35 years ago. We tape wrestling in our training facility every Friday and Saturday night. You can watch Fridays live on Rumble. We're going to also repost it, and it stays up, by the way, but all on Rumble. But also now we've been reposting it on YouTube, and then we tape on Saturday nights in addition to our training, because that's part of the training. I got that from there, and they've ran Friday and Saturday nights there forever, and things were very successful. At one point, like I say, you could see they were bursting out of the seams of the Sportatorium, and then they would go into the bigger venues in the area. But when I was there, that building seated about 850 people, which is about our average at the time. And like I said, I would never have learned how to be a good babyface in wrestling if I hadn't been down there working with Percival Pringle, a.k.a. Paul Bearer, under Kevin Von Erich, Fritz Von Erich. And if I wasn't in that ring with the rock and roll RPMs, and I'm talking about Mike Davis and Kevin Dillinger, who are also two unsung heroes in the sport. You know what I'm saying? Last thing I want to say is the reason why I love Kevin so much is because he stuck up for me. I told you what happened. The original plan was supposed to be myself and Bill Dundee as the top babyface tag team. And this is after off and on 4 years of working as a heel in Memphis. That's how much faith that Jerry Jarrett and Bill Dundee and the Memphis crew had put into me. And Jeff was going to be the top singles babyface, and we were going to feud with the RPMs, Well, I had no idea, that this partnership ended like it could have and like it did. And I said, well, shit, I came all the way down here to be with a friend, number one, to help him through a major knee reconstruction. And this had to be about 1990, maybe 91. I can't remember exactly. Probably 90. And I don't want to go to Memphis right now. I want to stay where I'm at until my boy has got his health handled. And damn it, I want to learn how to be a good babyface and then go back to Memphis, you see? And there was a hater involved, and I really want to call this guy out. because there's this awful perceived notion because everybody has died that could expose this mother effer and his ties to Japanese wrestling in general. But when I was there, he was a self-funded freelance newspaper photographer. Again, freelance, footing his own bill, wanting to be around the business. And I'm not going to call the guy a jock sniffer, but a step above a jock sniffer, if you know what I'm talking about. But he made some sort of shitty comment about me, and, Kevin said, hey, F you, this guy is selling us tickets, He's been here how long? And two actual rows, a group of people that took up 2 rows said, well, if Randy's not booked, we don't need our advance tickets, and that's where it started, I'm not saying I saved the territory by any stretch of the imagination, but it was nice to be in a position like that after all that territory has been through. It was then considered a draw by Kevin, And you go ahead and you watch Kevin Von Erich's matches, It wasn't just there. The Von Erich boys and their dad brought him in the right way. You go ahead and watch some of those old Madison Square Garden shows. Yeah, you go ahead and watch some of those old shows from Philadelphia Spectrum and stuff that isn't in the WWE library. You're going to see young Kevin and young David, young, after they were trained in Dallas and sent to work for Vince Sr. on the house shows, fighting for their lives to learn how to work on those house shows, and they did some amazing stuff. They were, all the Von Erichs, outstanding storytellers, Nobody did it for them, you know what I'm saying? And once again, all of them that I've known were good and decent people, especially Kevin. And, if you're someone like me, you always remember, if you're a decent person, the people that supported you when you were young. And one of the people that supported me was Kevin Von Erich, who kept me in that territory, All right, guys, I hope the movie plays out well. I hope you guys have learned some things about the movie and maybe have some food for thought as the movie comes out, because I got a feeling most wrestling fans are going to watch it. Again, I'm going to pin my hopes on the actions, just like Kevin himself, who this movie is about for the most part, and the fact that they're put so much work into it, and the actor that plays Fritz Von Erich busted into tears when Fritz's real granddaughter saw him, That's an outstanding sign. Don't tell me, motherfucker. Show me, All right, guys, please support Premier Pro Wrestling. In the description, I'm going to go ahead and I'll post that Kevin Von Erich interview link and also the Wikipedia link on the Iron Claw. And please be cool, like and subscribe. And underneath that information will be how you can help support Premier Pro Wrestling. Our primary sources of support is our Pro Wrestling Tees shop, Premier Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Tees, and also Premier Pro Wrestling on Patreon.